Hey guys, what's up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel, and tonight is going to be TV show content. For today's video, we are going to be doing something I've done every year since like 2020, 2021, and that is tiering every single TV show I watched in the year of 2024. I have 25 shows to go over, so luckily not as many movies because that video is long as hell. We're also going to see how long it takes me to film this because I got a lot of things going against me. I got some loud neighbors, I got a loud heating system, I have a smoke detector whose battery is running low, and I have one singular light bulb left out of the 3 on my ceiling, and it's way too high for me to change, so we're going to see if I can finish filming this video before that last bulb goes out. But this is going to be a very fun video, so let's jump right into it. Here are the tierings for this video. As you can see, I added one more. Usually for these videos I only have the first 5, but I decided to add the 6th one and I will get to that. So starting from the top, we have And the Emmy Goes To. These are going to be my favorite shows from 2024. And then we have And the Nominees Are, which is the runner-ups, basically what I would give 4 out of 5 stars to. Next row we have Background Noise. This just means like it was a good show. I didn't love it, but I didn't dislike it either. Like I liked the show, and it was also easy for me to follow along while I was doing something. Then we have Something That Exists. This is when we get into like the dislike territory. 2 out of 5 stars if you want to say. And then that being said, the second to last tier is just cancel it. These are shows I just did not like. And when I say I don't like them, I'm like actively rooting for them not to get a second season just because I thought they were that trash. And the last tier is started but not completed. This doesn't mean I DNF'd the shows. It just means I started the show in 2024, but I had not finished them by the time December 31st rolled along. So 3 of these shows are going to go in that category, and they rolled over, and I did finish them actually in January of this year. These are all the shows we're going to be talking about. We got a lot on our hands. Alright, so for our first show, we are unfortunately not off to a good start because we have Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action show, and I did not like this. Hopefully this is a safe space. Y'all won't come for me. I want this show canceled. I know it got the 2nd and 3rd seasons renewed. I saw that coming because it's clearly supposed to be the new Stranger Things, like what Netflix is going to rely on once Stranger Things ends. But if you've been here for a while, y'all know the OG show, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon, is my favorite show of all time. It has been since I was 12. I first watched it when I was 12 and I haven't shut the fuck up since. I actually went into this with somewhat high expectations. I shouldn't say high. I went into the show hesitantly, but somewhat excited. I really liked the casting choices. I thought they fit the characters really well visually. And when they were talking about the graphics, the filming, I was actually excited to see the final product. I just unfortunately don't like this. I'll link up above my February wrap-up. I think I finished this in February of last year. Either February or March, whichever video. I will link that up above because I spent 50 minutes talking about why I did not like the show. Basically, to sum up my thoughts, I was disappointed with it visually. Honestly, I didn't think the graphics were that great. I thought they were only slightly better than the other live action movie. It was just funny watching this because during the making of it, they were talking about this like new technology to create things just for it to end up looking like any other Netflix show. And my biggest issue with the show was the writing. I didn't mind that they switched things around plot-wise because it does make sense once you watch it in full. I understand why they took the Northern Air Temple, Return to Omashu, or whatever that episode's called, and they took one more episode and combined it into one. Like timing wise, I understood why they did that. I understood why Kana gave Katara the scroll and not the pirates. Like, I get it. What I didn't like is what they did to these characters. They all felt incredibly off. And I am okay with comparing it to the OG show because the creators of the live action said multiple times they're making this for the original audience. So why did you butcher the characters I love? You know what I mean? Maybe butcher's a strong word, but listen, Aang wasn't goofy. Katara was really fucking meek, which pissed me off. And they took away Sokka's, I said I wasn't gonna rant about this, but here I am. But they took away Sokka's sexism arc, so to speak. And I didn't realize how much everyone's character development relied on him being a sexist man. Like a lot of Katara's feelings towards him in the OG show relied on this water tribe culture that I feel like they took away. And especially Suki's character, because they just turned her into someone who has googly eyes for Sokka and like no other personality. And Zuko's a huge asshole in the first season of the OG show, whereas in this one, I thought they calmed him down a little too much, and now his redemption arc's not going to feel the same, because the fact that he was such an asshole is why it worked in the first place. And then Azula's character, she's not the conniving, manipulative bitch of the OG show, so I'm wondering what they're going to do with her in the second and third season. Live action Azula felt like season 1 Zuko of the OG show. And the biggest thing about the writing that pissed me off was the amount of spoon feeding in this show. They really dumbed it down, and every episode was incredibly on the nose with the point of the show and with what Aang needed to do. Like, you don't need to keep repeating that to us. And it just confused me, because again, they made the show for the original fans. I felt like the show trusted us less than the OG cartoon that was made for a Nickelodeon audience, so for 8 to 12-year-olds. Like, the OG show that I understood perfectly fine at 12 years old does not have as much spoon feeding as this show that I watched at 20, how old was I in the beginning of the year? At 26 years old. And it worries me for the future of writing, because what does it say that you're making the show more adultish, and yet you trust our understanding, our comprehension skills, our media literacy even less than the people who wrote this however many years ago did. And let me say one positive thing before I move on and turn this video into a 50-minute rant about this show in particular. The one positive thing I do want to say is that acting-wise, I think all the actors did okay with what they were given. They were given pretty rough scripts, and I feel bad for them, because I've seen interviews of these kids and they act more in character in these interviews than they do in the show, which is so fucking weird. I don't understand. I'm worried for my girl Toph in season 2. I'm worried for how the last Agni Kai is gonna go, because that's my favorite scene in all of animation. Actually, if I watch season 2, it's just so I could see what they do with Toph, but if I don't like season 2, if they don't make the show even better, because another complaint I have is they took too much from the second and third season of the OG show and shoved it into the first one, because you can tell their writers were scared they weren't going to get those seasons. But anyway, if I don't like season 2, I sure as hell am not going to continue with season 3. I'll just look up The Last Agni Kai on YouTube or something. So that was my long-winded rant about the first show I completed in 2024. Sorry, y'all. Alright, so the next show we have is an anime called Undead Unluck. And this is about a girl who, whenever she touches someone, they die, and she meets a guy who can't die. His name is Andy. So they decide to pair up because he wants to die the greatest death ever. And it takes place in a world where people have such powers, and they're all started with the prefix un. There was a lot going on in the show, and I feel like it's a skill issue on my part not being able to keep up, but I kind of struggled with this. I actually almost stopped watching the show given the first 4 to 5 episodes, because I was not liking the humor. A lot of the humor was about like borderline sexually assaulting Fuko, and I was not about that. And Fuko's annoying. She screams a lot in the beginning of the show, but I pushed through simply because I thought Andy was hot, and it had its moments that were cool. There's some questions I still have, but if it doesn't get a second season, whatever, you know what I mean? So it's between these two, but I'm gonna put it at something that exists, but like the high end of it. Next we have Solo Leveling. This is another anime, and this takes place in a world where these dungeons were opening up all throughout the world, and you're given a rank. The higher the rank, the stronger you are. Your rank cannot change, and these people go into these dungeons, defeat them, you win some shit, and I think they're like, the more dungeons they complete, the more this just goes away. And our main character is the lowest of the lowest, until one day he's super strong. This computer system of sorts is following him around, and his level is growing. It feels like it's not an isekai, but it feels like one. Like, it feels like a real life video game. People are like, oh, this is peak. I wasn't really liking this until, I don't know what peak y'all are talking about, quite frankly, but I'm not going to put it in cancel it until we talk about season 2, but you'll see that in 2026. I'm going to put it in something that exists. I was not feeling it until the last episode when his main power was finally revealed. I think his main power is real cool. But before that, I just feel like it was just constant, like he was fighting these battles, but there was no stakes, and it felt super repetitive, and I thought it was boring. I was just wondering where the story itself was. I wanted him to struggle a bit more. I would have liked this a lot more if he stuck to being an E rank and just had to struggle his way through, because now he's not struggling anymore. And I was discussing this with some friends online, and one person kept telling me like that's kind of the point of the story, that like it's a power fantasy, it's supposed to be the way it is. So maybe this genre is just not for me. But I didn't want to give up on it completely, so I did start season 2 this year. However, I have DNF the show right now. But for season 1 specifically, we're gonna keep that in something that exists. But finally, some good fucking news. We got Shogun, which was one of my favorite shows of 2024. So we're gonna put it at the top. It takes place within the 1600s, when Portugal was trading back and forth with Japan and trying to convert them to Catholicism. And we have a pirate who finds himself stranded in Japan. He becomes friends with his translator. There's the main guy that they work for. He's trying not to go to war with the other families. And there's just a lot going on in the show. I love the costuming. I was watching all the behind the scenes videos. It's apparently extremely accurate. They speak the Japanese that was spoken back then. I just loved all the set design. So like attention to detail is a big thing about the show. I loved all the characters, even like the morally terrible ones. I just thought they were also incredibly compelling and well written. I actually really liked the main romance. It wasn't corny, it wasn't in your face, and they kind of, you know, struggled their way there, and I really liked seeing that struggle. I actually liked the lack of battles in the show, because when you think about samurai and the shogunate, you're expecting all these battles, when really this show is actually just one big chess game. And something I really liked about the show, it was just refreshing to see a bunch of writers actually trust their audience. Things aren't spoon-fed. You do have to ask yourself some questions and think about the point of the story. And some things are left to interpretation, some things are ambiguous, not a lot, like a lot of things do eventually get explained to you, but it doesn't have the problem that other shows in streaming have, where so many things are shoved into one season because they're scared they're not going to get a second or third. This is a limited series, so I think that's why it doesn't have all that. But then therefore, the show was able to grow organically. Every week I was looking forward to a new episode, and I hadn't had that in a while, so I really enjoyed this. Then we have a show I was reacting to on YouTube, but copyright just slammed it, so you're only going to see the first two videos, which are the first 4 episodes, and that is I Am Not Okay With This. And this is about a girl who can make things explode with her mind. I wasn't really a fan of the comic book this was based on, but his shows, the show adaptations tend to be better than his comic books, and I was really liking this. I understand why so many people were pissed the second season never happened, especially with an ending like that. Not like 4 out of 5 stars, but definitely like the high end of background noise, just because it is a teen drama, and at this age I'm not really connecting to teen dramas anymore, but it had its funny moments and the soundtrack was amazing. Then we had another favorite of 2024, and that is Star Wars: The Clone Wars, a Cartoon Network TV show. I actually started watching this in 2023. I watched the first 7 episodes during New Year's, and then from New Year's up until like June, July is how long it took me to complete the show, because it's 7 seasons. The first 5 have over 20 episodes. Season 6 and 7 have about 16, 17 each. I don't even know if I like it better than Shogun. Like all my favorites, I don't have a favorite show of 2025, so I'm just gonna leave them the way they are. But this is honestly some of my favorite Star Wars content. So first of all, it takes place during the prequels, seasons 1 through 6, and then like the first half of 7. They take place between episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And then the last 4 episodes of the show take place within Revenge of the Sith. And I really like seeing more battles of the Clone Wars, getting to know all these different Jedi. So now when I rewatch Revenge of the Sith and watch them all die, I'm gonna cry, because originally, as much as I love that movie, I'm seeing these characters that I don't have a connection with die, and I was like, okay, but now that I've seen the show, it's like, oh my god, okay. I like seeing all the adventures. I like seeing more of Anakin, so his transition to Darth Vader is gonna hurt even more now whenever I rewatch episode 3. And those last 4 episodes were like movie quality animation. They were insane with the soundtrack. That final scene was beautiful. And honestly, Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars now. She was actually one of my favorite characters ever since I watched the Clone Wars movie, which is so funny to me because all these people I had multiple people warn me that she's that she's extremely annoying in the beginning and you have to give her a few seasons to develop and become better. But I don't know what y'all are talking about. I loved her since the beginning, and now she's like my favorite Star Wars character. But this show was a journey. I really liked it. It's actually some of my favorite Star Wars content. If I have to rank everything I've seen, my favorite Star Wars content of all time is still Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and then I would rank this as number 2. So next we have an anime called Wonder Egg, where's my mouse? Wonder Egg Priority. This is about a group of girls who all know someone who has committed suicide. And then they have these eggs where once they crack them, they fight these monsters that are related to other girls who have committed suicide, and every monster they complete is a step closer to bringing their own friends or acquaintances, what have you, back to life. This is a plot I would have ate up in high school, and I thought it was okay now. I thought it was a great plot now. I just feel like something from the show itself was missing, and maybe it's just because I'm an adult watching this and not a teenage girl. I did really like the friendship between the 4 girls. So actually, I will say this did start out as a nominee, but it became background noise. I'm going to actually put it after I am not okay with this because of the ending. The ending made me feel like I missed something. If you're in the anime community, one of the biggest jokes is maybe the point was the friendships we made along the way. And the more I think about this show, the more I think that really was the point of the story. The ending was definitely lacking, and I just felt so confused and like maybe I missed an episode or something. So that's really what, I don't want to say ruined the show, but like that's definitely what took it down a few notches. Animation is great though, and the main character reminds me of Coraline. Then we have Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. This is only 3 episodes. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit is Walt Disney's character before Mickey Mouse. There was a whole fiasco with that, how he was essentially stolen from Walt and that's why Mickey was created, blah blah blah. Now the Disney company has the rights back, and they do sell Oswald merch. So I went to Disneyland in 2024, and I'll link that vlog up above, but I was in a lot of airports because I had a layover. One of them was overnight, and I just needed something to do. So I watched this for background noise. 'Twas cute. I will put it right here. Right here. Why is this so hard? Right here. So next on the list was the new Yoda Chronicles, which is basically the OG trilogy told in Yoda's point of view using Legos and a lot of comedy. This is only 4 or 5 episodes. I watched them in the airport. These were genuinely funny. So it's not like nominee funny, but definitely the high end of background noise. We have Demon Slayer Season 3, which is a Swordsmith Village arc, but if you don't know what Demon Slayer is about, it's an manga anime that takes place during the 1900s in Japan. Demons are running amok, they eat humans, and then one day Tanjiro comes home to find that everyone in his family has died except his sister. His sister is a demon, so he's spending the rest of the show joining the Demon Slayer Corps so that way he could find that lead demon, Muzan, and eventually turn Nezuko back into a human. So Swordsmith Village arc, this came out in 2023. I didn't watch it then because I was reading the manga and I just couldn't do the 2 simultaneously. So I watched it in 2024, right before Season 4. I wasn't liking this arc in the manga. It's definitely my least favorite arc. It's so boring. And the anime has managed to be even more boring despite all the action and the music. And maybe it's just because I was like reviewing something I already wasn't liking. There were episodes I liked, some I didn't. I'm gonna put this at the high end of something that exists. But we got Season 4, which is the Hashira training arc, and a lot of people thought this arc was boring, but I really liked it because I liked seeing all the different Hashira and their background stories and like actually seeing an anime character train, because sometimes usually they're just strong for no reason. So it's going to be my first nominee, and that ending with the music, I cannot wait for the Infinity Castle movies. And if you guys haven't read the manga, y'all are in for a treat. Then we have another anime called Banana Fish, and this takes place in New York City. It's about a boy named Ash Lynx. He is the head of a gang, and then he befriends a boy from Japan named Eiji, and it's their very emotional time from there. Whew, this was a roller coaster. I don't think I'm gonna give it an Emmy just because there were a few episodes where I was like, oh my god, this is lagging, but definitely a nominee at the very least. Oh, did I like it better than Demon Slayer? I'm gonna say it's on par, just for they're two completely different shows, so I'm just gonna say they're tied. But people warned me this show was gonna be incredibly emotional, and I still wasn't prepared. I watched the first 4 episodes on an airplane. Wow. And then I cried. Episode 9 specifically, I was sobbing over my Taco Bell because I was so distraught, and just these characters cannot catch a fucking break, man. I feel so bad for them. And I was warned the ending is sad, and while I agree with that, I would actually more so use the word bittersweet, because like I teared up at the end, but I also had like a small smile on my face. There was something like beautiful about it. It's definitely a beautiful story. It is just trigger warning galore. There's the topic of rape, there's the topic of murder, of drugs. I mean, it's a gang story. It's a New York gang story. It's actually not something I would recommend for everyone, but if you're interested in gang stories and just an emotional roller coaster, it's only like 24, 25 episodes, definitely watch it. Then we have Star Wars The Acolyte. So this takes place before the prequels, about 100 years before the prequels. This girl who is a twin, she's doing something with the Force, and the Jedi are trying to figure it out because Jedi are dropping like flies. There was like a lot going on with this. This show received so much, how do you pronounce it? Vitriol, when the trailer dropped, and to this day I'm still flabbergasted about it. Unpopular opinion maybe, but I liked this show. Is it, perfect? Absolutely not. Like, it is background noise. I didn't love it, but what do I want to say? I feel like the vehement hatred the show got was definitely unwarranted, especially in the beginning, because Star Wars fans, and I say this as a Star Wars fan, we always ignore how racist this fandom could be, because I remember when the trailer dropped, something that pissed people off was the main character being black. And then a lot of people went into the show expecting to hate it, so therefore they found the littlest things to hate, and then that's why if you see people talk about the show online, it's just some of the most disgusting commentary you will ever see. But I liked it. I thought the first 2 episodes started off really strong. I liked learning more about the Jedi and kind of how messed up the system really is, because, something has to happen for the Sith to be created and lead its way into the OG trilogy. I thought it was bringing in new ideas. I like that we didn't see any of the old characters. They were all original characters, because this world is huge. I need new Star Wars products to stop relying on the Skywalkers. I like the lightsabers. I like the costumes. I like the witchy clan. I liked a lot of the ideas in the show. But I do have a couple gripes though, because like I said, it's not perfect. It is in background noise. Amanda Stenberg, her acting was a little rough. She was definitely the weakest actor, I think, in this whole movie, TV show, which is unfortunate because she is the main character. And the pacing of the show definitely fell off. Like, some episodes were too fast, some were too slow. If I want to talk about the pacing overall, I would definitely need to rewatch this. Part of me does wonder how much of the pacing is affected by the fact, I couldn't binge it. I did have to wait a week for a new episode. But the pacing needed work, and then the main person's acting needed work, but otherwise, I really liked it, and I was actually upset to find out it didn't get a season 2, because I wanted to see, because they did bring back one character, and that's Yoda, which is understandable given he's like 900 years old in the OG trilogy. So I wanted to know what they were going to tell him. But unfortunately, we're not going to get a second season, which is disappointing, but it is what it is. Then we have Scavenger's Reign, which is a sci-fi show, and it's about a group of people who get stranded on a planet and are trying to make their way back to their ship. I watched this because of the online community I'm in. A lot of people really liked the show. It was originally on HBO Max. Netflix took over, and if Netflix had enough views, they would have made a second season. So people in my online community, they're like, please watch this so I can get that, and I was like, I got you, because even if I don't like it, at least they have the views. But I didn't dislike it. I did like the show. And I will say, I'm gonna put it with the nominees. It's like the low end of nominees, but like, still good. I really liked the show because it was adult characters, so I was able to relate to them and connect to them more so than other shows. I really liked seeing their struggle. Given how, fantastical this planet was, it still felt like real human emotions and their struggles were real. It was nice that things weren't easy for them, especially because it's a survival show. And you know what, there were a few characters I was sad to see go, so spoiler alert, not everyone's gonna survive. The mood of the show, it's very atmospheric, and the music definitely helps a lot. And I love the color palette of the show. I really like what this planet looked like. It's unfortunately not going to get a second season, but when it comes to the ending of season 1, I feel like it ended on a good note. It ended in a way where it opened up to season 2, but at the same time, now that we don't have a season 2, season 1 still gave enough closure. Then we have another anime, Suicide Squad Isekai. This is an isekai anime about the Suicide Squad characters. They're fighting in this fantastical fantasy world. This to me is something that exists. I either liked episodes or just completely hated them. I'm really not a comic book girly except for like a few rare instances, and I was hoping this was one of them, but I wasn't clicking with it. And if it does not get a second season, then that is fine with me. A show I am hoping gets a second season though is Twilight of the Gods. This is a Zack Snyder show who I know is super controversial in the movie world. I don't know. I haven't seen any of his movies. This is my first project by him. And this is a show based on Norse mythology. The main character's family gets killed by Thor, so she is trying to go after him. Teams up with Loki, teams up with a bunch of people. It's a great adventure story. I'm upset it's only like 8 episodes. Where do I want to put this? Do I want to give it an Emmy, or is it the high end of nominees? Ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna give it an Emmy. I had a lot of fun with the show because I loved the main characters. I was actually shocked that even though this show is only 8 minutes long, enough happens and the pacing to me is fine. I don't really know a lot about Norse mythology, so unfortunately I can't tell you if it's accurate or not. You're gonna have to rely on other people for that. I liked every character, again, even the ones that are like evil and you're not supposed to like because they're well written, they're compelling. I love the art style of the show. I said in my wrap-up, one of my favorite things about this show is the husband, because I'm so sick of shows where the husband either like cheats on the wife or just never agrees with her, whereas in this one, he was by her side that entire time, and I was like, thank you. And I also just really liked him as a character. And it ends on somewhat of a cliffhanger, so I do need you guys to watch this so I can get a second season. A lot of people online were complaining that this show doesn't have an ending, and no shit, it doesn't have an ending because Zack Snyder is clearly trying to get that second season. If there's more story to tell, not everything. This is my problem with streaming nowadays, so this is like a side rant. And it kind of goes back to the Avatar live action. I feel like, understandably, writers nowadays are so scared their shows aren't going to get more than 1 season. But because of that fear, they shove so much in a singular season that I feel like stories aren't allowed to grow organically anymore, and it ruined how we view these shows too, because you have a show like Twilight of the Gods where the main problem with season 1 was solved. Just the last episode opened up a new thing so that season 2 has a story to tell, but now you have people saying, oh, it doesn't have an ending, like why wasn't this answered, why wasn't that answered, and it's like, well, not everything needs to be answered if the show is slated for more seasons. Like, you know what I mean? Like, streaming has really ruined how people write shows and how we view them. But I'm glad Twilight of the Gods did what it did. It answered everything it needed to answer in the first season and left enough for a second season. So please watch it, because I want that second season. And then a show I quite literally used as background noise at work is Liberty's Kids. This was a PBS show, and you had to be a PBS kid at a very specific time, because it was only 40 episodes long, and then reruns only lasted like a year. This takes place during the American Revolutionary War, and it's about 3 kids who are journalists for Benjamin Franklin, and they go through the events of the war. So we're gonna keep it at background noise. We will put it, we'll put it here, because I had a lot of fun with it. I really liked how the show was set up, actually, like making the kids journalists so that way they had an excuse to be at these battles or these important events. In the beginning of each episode, they had the girl write letters to her mother, and I thought that was a good way to set up the summary of the episode so that as a kid you knew what you were about to watch. And it also just amazes me that I was still learning things from the show, despite the target audience being for 5-year-olds. I was actually still learning a lot from the show. There were things in it that I never learned in school despite, you know, being American and being in American schools my whole life. And in a way, I thought it was ahead of its time, especially when it was discussing what happened to the Native Americans during this time period. And near the end of the show too, when it was discussing what happened to the soldiers and how they were treated after the war, because in schools we're always told like, yeah, patriots, we love them, they're our heroes, and yet the show was like, I mean, they're heroes, but we still treated them like garbage. But if you want to watch it or like show your kids, all the episodes are on YouTube. And I had a great time watching this at work actually, and Aaron Carter sings the theme song, and the theme song is a banger. Oh, and also they had some big names play these characters, like a famous newscaster played Benjamin Franklin, Ben Stiller was in this, Dustin Hoffman, Whoopi Goldberg, Sylvester Stallone. Where did y'all get this budget? Because it clearly wasn't for the animation. Then I watched a horror anime called Another. And this is about a boy who starts at a new school. He meets this girl that nobody is talking to, and then he finds out that his class is cursed. 20-something years in the past, a kid died. The whole class pretended he was there, and then after that, a kid would die in a classroom every year, and it accumulated, so if you didn't like solve the issue, more and more kids kept dying. Wild ass story for only 12 episodes, and I actually really liked it. It's gonna be a nominee. Hello. Ooh, where do I want to put it? I'm going to put it at like the high. I'm going to put it like right here because I could not stop watching this show. It is, talk about fucking creepy. I watched it with the lights off. The atmosphere of the show is insane. I was tense. I was extremely creeped out. And the music doesn't help. It's like the type of music you hear in horror movies about dolls specifically. And I truly never knew where this story was going. And there's a lot going on in those last couple episodes. So if y'all need some horror to watch, I'm pretty sure I watched this on Crunchyroll. If you have a Crunchyroll account, only 12 episodes. It was a great time. Something that was not a great time was Junji Ito's Uzumaki, which is so sad because I loved this manga, but unfortunately the anime, despite being only 4 episodes long, is something that exists. Like, I almost feel bad putting it here because I was just so upset with how it turned out, especially because I thought the first episode was great. I'm just gonna plop it here. It's about a town that's cursed by a spiral. They catch them everywhere and they all like flip out. The animation of the first episode was fantastic, and I knew I was in for what I thought was gonna be a good time. And something I really liked is that they were able to combine these chapters into one cohesive story. Because if you read the manga, the chapters aren't really connected. It is very episodic. And the first episode combined them well. It was creepy. The music creeped me out. But then the next 3 episodes, what the fuck happened to the budget, man? Like, it felt like I was watching a PowerPoint and you could see like the JPEGs, the animation quality just went from here to hell. And I was just so disappointed because we waited like 5 years for this because they kept pushing it back just for that to be the final product. My disappointment took away from the story itself, even though I knew it was coming. Some chapters they spent more time on. There were other chapters where they just mentioned happened and then skipped over a bunch. I will say though, episodes 2 to 4 at least have the same quality. So the quality is at least stagnant rather than going downhill continuously. So take that as you will, but it is disappointing after waiting 5 years. But then I rewatched Over the Garden Wall on Halloween, which is about 2 boys in this fictional world trying to get home. And this show is really cute. It's like the low end. It's the low end of nominee just because I did rewatch it. I will say though, I wish it had more episodes because there's clearly like a universe there and lore to explore, but just not enough time to do it. So that's my one critique. But I did look into what happened with the show. Apparently they were slated for even more episodes and then Cartoon Network cut them off. So they did what they could. The show is very cute. It's a cozy Halloween story. So if you're not into scary stuff but still want the Halloween vibes, the show is the show for you. And each episode's only like 15 minutes long, so you can easily binge this. But then we got Arcane Season 2. I loved the first season. Was it worth the wait, 3 years or whatever it was? I think so. I'm gonna give this an Emmy. And I'm going to put it right here because I did like it better than Twilight of the Gods. I don't even know how to tell you what the show is about because it's based on League of Legends, which I have never played in my life, and you don't need to play it to understand these characters because I think they're introduced very well, so is the universe. It's a commentary about rich societies and poor societies, familial trauma, sisterly bond, other types of trauma. These characters can never catch a fucking break. It has some of the best character exploration I have ever seen in shows. I really wish people would stop saying they don't want to watch this because it's a cartoon, because I don't care. Get over it. It's just a medium and you are missing out on some great writing. And I like the animation style now that we're on that topic, especially the first season, because the movement is animated in a way where it feels like you're playing a video game, which I think makes perfect sense given that's what League of Legends is. Season 2 introduced some great plot lines. It was just as emotional as the first season. The soundtrack's even better. There were no skips in this soundtrack. My only gripe is the last episode because the ending is very rushed. But I like the idea of the ending. I just feel like more development needed to happen, whether that was an extra season or just maybe even an extra episode. And then I feel like if they had extra time, they would have been able to discuss Caitlyn's character better, because I feel like her arc they got over it pretty, I don't want to spoil it. They got over the things she did pretty fast. I think she was let off a little too scot-free. But despite that, I still really loved what I saw. My boy Echo, I felt so bad for him. Like, dude, man, what could have been? And I loved Jinx's development in the season 2, because after season 1, I was expecting her just to be, like, you know, a terrorist. But in season 2, they actually gave her more depth, and like everything she did made a lot more sense rather than just being insane just to be insane. But I can see that my camera is dying, so I don't want to rant about the show too much, and because especially I would go into spoiler territory, and I don't want to do that to you guys. So like, please just watch it, especially if you love shows with character explorations, because this has some of the most real human emotions I've ever seen in a TV show, man. Then we have season 2 of Squid Game. So the first season is about a guy who's poor, he's in a lot of debt. He goes into this game with the hope of winning a lot of money, however something is just not right. I remember people were upset with how season 1 ended because a lot of us thought it should have just been the one season. I was inclined to agree with that, however, I don't think season 2 was a waste of time, and I am actually excited to see season 3. It's hard to talk about season 2 without spoiling what happens in season 1 and lately. Ooh, would I give this? It's not my favorite. I would definitely give this a nominee. Where do I want to put this? We're gonna leave it there. I do really like seeing the main character, I think his name is Gi-hun. I do really like seeing his development and how, despite his goal being the same, by the end of season 2, he's like a completely different person, and it makes you feel bad. I liked a lot of the characters in this season, actually, especially the mom. There's a plot twist at the end of a certain episode that had me screaming. I saw it coming. As the character's walking, I said to myself, I bet you this is who it is. And I was right, and I was still screaming. Though there's that one game where it's 5 people all connected to each other, I was literally bouncing up and down in my seat, screaming at the TV like, go, 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 go. I will say, there's one character in this. His name is Thanos. He's played by a K-pop idol, T.O.P., who I know since high school because one of my friends was absolutely obsessed with Big Bang. I am of the popular opinion that he's a very annoying character, but I am of the very unpopular opinion that he was so annoying, he was not funny. So, spoiler alert, I am so fucking glad we are not going to see him in season 3 because I was ready for him to be gone. He was definitely my least favorite part of the season, but other than that, like, I don't really have a lot of bad things to say. I do wish it was slightly longer because it's only 7 episodes. Like, given Squid Game and how like revolutionary it was when the first season came out, I don't love season 2 as much as I did the first season, but I am excited to see season 3, which comes out this year, so luckily not a long wait. I'm just wondering where it's gonna go and how this is gonna end, because I feel like that last episode had a lot to say about human nature and what the frontrunner thinks of human nature and those people around him. But then the last 3 shows are actually all gonna go in the last tier, started but not completed. I started Star Wars Rebels around, I want to say August. Yeah, because I started it during my Massachusetts trip, which, since I mentioned it, I'll link that up above. It's about a group of people on a ship going around. They're part of the rebellion, saving different planets, saving themselves. And I do really like the show. I finished it in January, So I will discuss that in my January wrap-up. It's 4 seasons, and I only watched like 2.5 by the time January started. We have Skeleton Crew, which is another Star Wars show. I have no idea when in the timeline this takes place. But this basically asks the questions, what if Star Wars took place in the suburbs? Group of kids bored out of their mind, they accidentally find themselves in a spaceship and go out of the orbit, and Jude Law is a pirate and is taking them around as they try to find their way home. This show was coming out weekly and it started in December, so I couldn't finish it in 2024 even if I wanted to, because I think the last half of the episodes came out in January. So I have finished it. It is one of my favorite Star Wars shows that I've seen. This is a fun show. It's a good family show. You won't need to think too hard about what you're watching, but I think you'll have a lot of fun. And the pacing in the show it's not like The Acolyte. The pacing hurt The Acolyte, which the pacing in the show is fine, and the acting is fine. All the kids actually act like children. Jude Law is definitely the star of the show. Literally the only gripe I have with this is my girl Carrie Condon. I loved her in Banshees of Inisherin. This is only the 3rd thing I'm seeing her in, because I know she's in the Marvel movies, but I don't watch that. 3rd thing I'm seeing her in, and the 2nd one where she has to fake an American accent, and girly. They gotta stop forcing you to do that, because she could not fake an American accent to save her life. But like, she's barely in the show. She's only in like maybe 3 episodes top, so obviously not enough to take away from my enjoyment. But again, I will go into more detail in my January wrap-up. And then another show I started but did not complete was Don to Don. I only watched the first 2 episodes in 2024. By the time I started, all 12 episodes of the season were out. But I watched the first 2 episodes, I think on my way to Chicago, because I went home for Christmas. No, I watched it coming back to Philly. And this show is about a girl and a boy who befriend each other. The boy believes in aliens, the girl believes in ghosts, and they're going to try to prove to each other that these things exist. I did finish this, but you guys will, if you love the show, you will not like my opinion, so I'm going to save that for the January wrap-up. But I did think the first 2 episodes started off kind of strong, like obviously enough for me to want to finish the season. It's just the first episode is not safe for work, which I wish I knew that before watching it on an airplane, but here we are. But that is it for this tier ranking. Thank God it did not take as long as the fucking movies, y'all. But here is the final product. I'm such a hater. This poor show, it's by itself. Alright, my camera died right as I was about to film the conclusion, and I'm not waiting for it to charge to film it. So here I am on my phone. I want to thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. If I said anything like controversial, if you agree, if you disagree, what shows y'all watched last year. I love a new good TV show. I already finished 5 in 2025. 3 of them are the ones I discussed at the end of this video, but still, that's a lot of TV already. Okay, my hand was shaking, so here's this terrible angle. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. Without further ado, I'm going to peace out, and I'll see you guys later. I just realized I'm wearing my Demon Slayer shirt, and I talked about Demon Slayer. Anyway, ciao, tutti.